so hopefully I can watch that out of the corner of my eye. I can see if it freezes. Okay, so I want to go through the basics of how to get started with Stable Diffusion. So first of all, if you haven't already, in the description for this video, there should be a link to Stable Diffusion, so on GitHub. So go and open that up and download the zip file that they tell you to download. I should be able to bring this up for you actually. So if you go into, well, if I go into Help and Community, I can bring up the source code page. So this is the source code page. I can't tell it's refreshing on that. This is the source code page for Stable Diffusion, and at the, you can go and download the zip. So that, I just recommend just downloading the entire zip. I think that's right. If it isn't right, then just grab it here. Download for Windows. So it looks like this version is only for Windows. So if you're running a Mac, then it's not really going to help you very much. So what we've got here, well, you'll notice that it uses two algorithms, the specific version, well, most of them do. One of them uses face correction, which is the GFP GAN. GAN is actually the algorithm that is, works with faces. I believe that's right. But there's also real ESR GAN, and that is for upscaling. So it's got the two things. One is GFP GAN, which is for faces, and the other is real ESR GAN, which is for upscaling. So you don't really need to know exactly what those are, but it just helps you understand what they do. So we've got Stable Diffusion up. I straight up, it's set by default to 512 by 512 pixels for the image size that you're going to create, which is absolutely fine. I wouldn't really go higher than that unless you've got a really fast computer. And also, when you're first setting it up as well, if you do have a slow computer, in here you've got some additional settings. So there's, hopefully you can see this. I can't actually see my live screen to tell if I'm blocking it out. Okay. Okay, I'm not. Okay, so in here you can see these extra system settings. There's automatically save to, so you change that to your output folder. Okay, so the first and foremost, change your output folder so you know where you're sending the pictures to. So I've changed it to pictures, which is easy to find. And I do that by just going to the pictures folder using the browser, using the standard Windows browser, and right clicking on it and selecting copy path, and then pasting that path into this path here. And the only other thing I do is I take the exclamation marks, because when you copy the path it has an exclamation marks on either side of the folder location, so I take those away. The other thing you can do is either select or deselect turbo mode. That requires a little bit more VRAM. So if you've got a slow computer, I wouldn't have that on turbo mode. And you can use CPU instead of GPU. That's very slow, but it is fairly accurate. If you can use that if you don't have a very fast GPU, but it will take more time. And then the final two, one is use full precision for GPU only. I've got mine set to that because I've got a fast graphics processor unit. If you don't, and you don't have very much VRAM, don't use this. And then I've got better channel. You can deselect this and just have it with this more stable version, but I've got better channel because I want all of the latest updates for this particular project. So those are the basics for your settings, for your system settings. So now let's just go into the image settings here. So what you can see at the top is your prompt section. So that's where you're going to add your prompts, whatever they might be, text or image. And then if you go down underneath prompt, or you can see here just underneath the text prompt is choose file. So that's for selecting your image file. Now ideally you want a image file that is no larger than 768 pixels. This software can actually deal with larger. I've managed to do it with larger, but often it can't, and it will split the dummy, especially if it will have an issue with it, especially if you have a slow GPU. So ideally stick to 768 by 768, or if your GPU is very slow, 512 by 512 pixels. So I'm going to set it to 512 wide and 768 high, which will give me a kind of portrait kind of look. And the next one down underneath that is number of inference steps. So inference steps, actually that's the quality of, essentially that's the quality of whatever you're going to create. So I set that, at this stage I set that to 35. Where if I'm just generating images and I'm not worried about the final output, I just want to jam some images, then I select 35. So those are the basics. So we can start off with just a prompt. So maybe we just say, let's say, what's a good prompt? A good text prompt. I'm going to go for a 10 chicken. So let's say chicken assassin. Just a really silly prompt like that. That's not how you spell assassin. So chicken assassin is going to be our prompt. So we've got our prompt and we've got our initial settings. So we know it's going to be portrait size. We know the quality is going to be 35. We haven't got an initial image. We are not going to show a live preview because that takes more time. And these two settings at the moment are unchecked. But if we had a face and we wanted to make sure it's accurate with catching the eyes or the facial structure, then you would select this for fix incorrect faces and eyes using the GFP GAN. You remember I just said before that the GFP GAN is specifically tailored for generating faces. So at the moment we're going to deselect that. For starters, we're generating a chicken. The next one is upscale the image to 4 times the resolution, and we're also going to have that deselected because that takes more time and more VRAM, and things could be problematic if we use that. So those are all our basic image settings. So now let's look at our modifier settings. So before, again, we haven't generated anything at the moment. We're just setting things up. So the thing I like about this particular interface is they've brought in these tiles here so you can see these different drawing styles, which is fantastic. So at the moment I've got the drawing styles unexpanded, but there's also visual style. So you can see concept art, comic book, cartoon, constructivist, cubist, digital art. I use Art Nouveau a lot because I'm doing an Art Nouveau book. So it's like minimize drawing style. So that's the visual style. And there's a whole bunch to select from. They keep on adding them because it's all in development at the moment. But at the moment we'll deselect that and go to pen. So there's pen style, so that's the different drawing styles: chalk, colored pencil, graphic, ink, oil paint, and pastel art. Let's just minimize that. Then there's carving and etching. None of this is particularly controversial. The one that people are having the problem with at the moment is actually the artist, but we've got our camera settings here, so you can see you can change the camera settings to different types of camera, like camera effects, different types of there's a Canon 50, a cinematic camera, color grading, all that kind of stuff. So very useful. And then you've got emotions, or color and emotions. So you've got color, so you've got colorful, cold color palette, electric colors, infrared, synthwave, warm color palette, and all that kind of stuff, which is great. Emotions for what sort of tone you want for the picture. We're not going to select anything from the tone. We're just going to say, oh, actually, let's choose for emotions. We'll choose funny because it should have funny in there, because we want a funny chicken with a gun. That's what we're going to do, just with text prompt. And then the type of artist. So this is where it's getting controversial, because we've got artists like Greg. Here is Greg Rotowski. You can see his tile there, and he's really not happy with people using his style with their AI generated artworks. So we're going to avoid Greg for now, and we're going to choose somebody who I used to work for once upon a time, Disney. So we'll select Disney if we can find it. Where's visual style? Disney. There's Pixar. We'll select Pixar, and there should be a Disney animation one as well. I'm just not able to see it. Disney Animation Studios. So Pixar and Disney Animation Studios, the tiles are almost identical, as you can see there. But you can see these 3 tiles here. Those are the additional modifiers to this text prompt. So these 3 have been added, along with we're using this text with our basic image settings that we created before. So we're ready to start to generate something. So let's generate something using those settings. Let's see if it will create a chicken assassin for us. I don't know what a chicken assassin looks like. That's probably a good thing. Okay, here we go. So you can see the command prompt window. So underneath my window here, hopefully I'm still streaming okay. I haven't frozen. Yeah, underneath this window here, in here, this webcam window, if I am actually streaming okay, is the command prompt, and you can see at the moment it's at about 40% of the command prompt for generating our assassin chicken. It's almost done. It says I'm skipping frames, so that's not a good sign. Probably doesn't help that it's a long weekend, so everybody's on the internet, and it's just after dinner. So it should be bringing us our chicken. There's our chicken. Okay, that's really weird. Okay, it's only generating 1 at a time, so let's generate like 6 at a time. 6 images and 6 in parallel. To give us some options, because that's it's 2 chickens for starters, and I don't see an assassin chicken there. So let's try again. Give us an assassin chicken, Stable Diffusion. Come on, baby. Give us a Pixar, Disney style, funny assassin chicken. So again, you've got all these image prompts. At the very bottom, you've got CGI software, so you can actually change it so it renders using one of these kind of things. It's not actually rendering using those, it's just emulating the look of a 3D model that's been rendered using those. And it's the same for the very bottom where it says CGI rendering. It's not actually using where is it? It's not using an Octane renderer here. It's Octane is hardware, I think. So it's not set up to run an Octane, but what it is it will emulate the Octane renderer. So it's just basically tricking the algorithm to kind of convince it to draw it so it looks like an Octane renderer, but it's not using the Octane renderer. So we've got 2 minutes to go. That prompt is taking its time. We'll just have a look here. 36%. If this freezes, I might have to restart this. 39%. Oh, it's doing it. It's doing it slow. Why is it doing it so slow? What did I change? Ah, it's because I'm doing 6 images at once. Okay, it's all good. It's all good. So that's another thing to bear in mind. The more images that you create, the more VRAM it's going to take up. So what I'm assuming is that is images at once. So if you're creating 6 images, it's not going to be a problem if you're creating them 1 at a time. But if you're trying to create 6 images in parallel, then it's multiplying that by 6 for some reason, and it's not doing them systematically. It's literally rendering them in parallel. So the best option is actually, I like to do about 2 at a time, 2 to 4 at a time. I'm doing 6 because I'm rendering at really small size, and also because I'm worried about data throughput. So hopefully my stream doesn't freeze. I have no idea of knowing if my stream is still going at the moment, because my internet here is not going so well. Let's have a look here. Oh, well, it looks like it's still going. Okay. I'll have faith in it then. All right, so 75%, and we're gonna see 6 chickens. Give us six assassin chickens. Show us our 6 chickens. I feel like chicken tonight, and I don't mean food. Give me the chickens, baby. 34 seconds to go, and we can have a look at these chickens. So one thing is also it takes a little bit longer if you're just using text prompts. If you use image prompts and you're not doing too much processing with the algorithms, it's a lot faster. I guess because maybe it's using the internet as well, or yeah, I think it's probably because it's communicating with its bots that are not actually located here via a server. So yeah, that's my theory. So here we go. All right, so we got a whole bunch of chickens. None of them look particularly like assassins. I quite like this group of chickens here. Like it's created its own poster art for a chicken mission, for a Disney chicken movie that doesn't exist. Okay, these chickens look kind of deformed. Let's grab this group of chicken. I like this group shot. So you use this as the input, and we're just going to go and we'll change the prompt to chickens. So yeah, so I can actually use the input. This is an input. You can see it here. This is user's input. Is this little button here. So that's what I've clicked here, and I can click any of these and it will change the little tile here to show what I'm using as the image prompt now versus just using a text prompt. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to change. I've changed the text to chickens because it's 4 chickens, and now this is where you have to pay a little bit of attention in your prompt strength. So when you're starting off with an image, I'd keep the prompt strength pretty low, say at about 0.1. So it's using the image mostly and the prompt less, if that makes sense. So at the moment, at 0.1, it's using 10% of the prompt and 90% of the image to guide it to its to whatever it's going to create next, which is going to create 6 more images. But those images are going to be using this as its launch pad for those 6 images versus sort of randomly creating all these. So here we go. This is make image. So this should be a lot faster than what we had before because it's not having to throw to the internet to work things out. Plus the prompt strength is only at 10%. So the bigger the prompt strength as well, the slower it seems to take to process. And again, I think that's because the more it's using the words, the more it's using the bot to process the image, the more VRAM hungry it gets, and the more time it will take. But here we go. So here's a bunch of chickens. They're all pretty much the same. These images are fairly the same, fairly same-ish. So, but you can see it's actually deselected random image. So I'm going to reselect random image here. We're going to do 6 more. But I'm going to show you what happens now if I start to ride the prompt strength up. So let's do that. So I've already done videos where I was going up by 1 increment at a time, so I'll just probably drop those in at some other point. Let's just go straight to like 0.4. So let's be aggressive with our prompt strength. So that means it's using 0.41, that's close enough to 0.4. It's using 40% of the word chickens and these image modifiers. That's what it's using. 40% of these image modifiers and this text and 60% of this image to create the next 6 images based on that prompt. So here we go. At 40%. So 40% is going to take longer because again it's throwing it to the internet, it's processing. As you can see, there's our decoding image. It's at 0% now. It's just starting. Yeah, 7%, 14%. Okay, so it's not too slow, but it's a lot slower than it was when we were at 0.1. And this is still faster than just using text prompts. And it's a lot more. You've got a lot more control at this stage. So 36%. and then we'll have a look and see what it's done with our bunch of chickens. So again, if you haven't already, download this. If you've got a fast enough computer, download the zip file from GitHub while we're waiting for this to render. To find the file, you'll see it in the description of this video for this live stream, and this is the link for the page. So they'll bring you to this page, and just scroll down to about here on the page where it says download for Windows or Linux. This version only works with Windows or Linux, so and then download the Windows zip file, unzip that Windows file into your C drive somewhere, preferably in a root folder that you can find easily. I think it has to be in a root folder, but it'll also have the instructions for how to install it. So here's the instructions if you just scroll a little bit further down for how to get it all right and point to the right places. So let's have a look at these chickens. So you can see it has changed. This background chickens have changed. This one's got a smile now. It's definitely changing the chickens. It's changed the chickens. This is weird. His eyes gone closed. So that's using a text prompt of 0.4. Let's go right up to 0.8. So see, previously it was set by default to 0.75, but it looks like they're setting the default prompt strength to 0.8 for images now. So let's have a look. Let's see what it creates at 0.8. 0.8 is going to take probably twice as long as 0.4. So that's again a thing to remember. The more prompt strength, the more time it's going to take to generate. The slower your computer, the more time it's going to take to generate. And also, the slower your computer, the more limited you're going to be with your final image size resolutions. But we'll get to that in a second. First, let's just get ourselves some good looking chickens. After I've finished rendering out with that, maybe we'll just flip styles and try like a Art Nouveau chicken image, just so we can see the Stable Diffusion fail in an interesting way, because I don't think they will work very well. 21%. The other thing we can do is we can change those settings now. So if I click on this, it'll remove these image modifiers, but it won't affect our current render because all of that is already set. You can see it up here. This is the prompt: Chickens Funny by Pixar Studios, by Disney Animation Studios. So let's remove those studios, remove funny, excuse me, and we'll change the emotion. We'll make the emotion let's see, angry. So it's an angry emotion, and we'll change the style to something completely different from Pixar. So let's do Geiger. So let's do an HR Geiger style group of chickens after it's finished rendering these ones in the next 57 seconds. So when I click make on this next step, you'll see this prompt will change based on these image modifiers and this text. So we'll change this to chicken cyborgs, since it's HR Geiger. So it's going to be chicken cyborgs, and we're just going to render it small, same as before. HR Geiger style, and it's going to be angry HR Geiger chicken cyborgs. Sounds good to me. But first, let's have a look at this last render first, since we've been waiting for a couple of minutes for it. So there we go. So it's starting to be a little bit more creative, but it can go wrong. It can go horribly wrong. It can start to deform things. You can see we've got a cyclops chicken here. I don't know what's happening there. It's got like pincers coming out of its mouth. but I like the face of this chicken. So or the face of this chicken. So you can actually, what I do is I do a bunch of renders, and then I'd sort of pick and choose from different elements. I might take this kind of turkey fellow in the background and this sort of chicken in the foreground and drop them into Photoshop with a different background. Choose a different middle one from, say, from an earlier render, and just play. I'll use these two chickens here and just sort of clean them up. Then bring them back in at a slow prompt and run it all through again. But I'm not going to show you that right now. We're sticking with prompt crafting and just getting started in Stable Diffusion. So let's make our image our angry HR Geiger chicken cyborgs, and you'll see how hopefully with a prompt of 0.8 you should see a very different looking bunch of chickens from the Pixar animation funny chickens that we had before. Okay, so while it's generating that, it says it's going to take 8 minutes. It's probably not. It's probably going to be 2 minutes. Usually it'll update you at 2 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to choose a final resolution setting. So we're going to create 6 images. I don't know if any of them are going to be any good. We're going to create 6 images, and from those 6 images we're going to choose from those, and we're going to do a final upscale and just see how we go, because there's some limitations as well. Again, my GPU is fast, but it's not the fastest. There's some new GPUs coming out, I think, next month. But we'll upsize the image from 512 to 768 to 768 to 1024. Okay, so that's bigger. We're not going to change the inference steps because that takes a lot longer, but we're only going to generate one image at once. So just one image, which will mean that it's a little bit faster because at the moment it's trying to generate 6 at the same time. And it's still got 1 minute and 25 seconds, but yeah, we're going to just upscale one of our final images to something that's not a low resolution image that we can actually use with something. So the next thing to do is we're going to select upscale the image to 4 times the resolution using Real SGRAN 4+, but we're not going to fix the incorrect faces and eyes, even though it's a bunch of chickens, because they're not human faces. They're kind of puppety chickens, and we don't really care. It's just an experiment. But if it was a face, I might select that, just if the eyes aren't looking right, or if they're misaligned, or if the pupils aren't looking quite right or aren't quite formed properly. I'd probably select that. Just be aware it is an aggressive little addition, and it can go wrong. It can make things look very odd, and sort of takes a little bit of the art away from it. So anyhow, 22 seconds before we see some angry chicken cyborgs, and then we can render a final image, and I can put a pin in this getting started with Stable Diffusion live stream. 93 seconds, 93%, 12 seconds, 5 seconds. So must almost be there. Here we go. Look at this. Look at these nightmarish chickens. So these are Geiger chickens. These are disturbing. I love it. So we're going to select this one. I've got this one, which has got some weird. It looks like it's got a foot for a beak. These ones have completely turned into monstrosities, and its body is disturbing. I like it. So we can use that as the input for our final image, just so I can show you how you can upscale. So again, we've set it to Real SGRAN 4++ to make it 4 times bigger than 768 by 1024. So our final image will be 4,000 pixels wide, which is what I want. 4,000 pixels high, which is what I want, because I like everything to be 4K, because I've got a nice ultra high definition monitor. So let's change this prompt. We could leave it at 0.8, but it's going to take a while. At the moment, we just want to upscale it. So I'm going to change the prompt to 0.1. I mean, if I want it to be more creative, it's going to take more time. This again, this is just for the purposes of showing you how things are done. So it's going to generate one image at 768 by 1024 height, 35 inference steps at a guidance scale of 7.5. I'm not actually sure what guidance scale means, but the prompt strength is 0.1, so it's only using 10% of the words, and the image modifier is angry and HR Geiger. It's mostly using this image input. So how's it doing? Applying filters. 2 seconds. Wow, that was fast. Fast because it's not really having to do much except for blow a picture up. Okay, so it probably doesn't look like it because it's not showing the real size of the image, but that is a higher resolution image than before. And then let's see what happens if we fix incorrect eyes and faces. There are no correct eyes and faces, so it should just fail with this, but it's going to take longer to render, and that was quite fast. So we'll do one final render with fixed eyes to faces. Let's see, how's it going? 33%, 60. Well, that's fast. It's going fast. So you can see the advantage of just doing one image at a time. But the reason why I'm generating 6 at a time is for variety. So I have some options to choose from. Looking for my inhaler. I'm kind of wheezing a bit. 2 seconds to go. Okay, there you go. It really did not make much difference, did it? So let's throw caution to the wind, ride this up to 0.5. It's going to take longer. And just let it jam out with this HR Geiger image. So let's let it finish that, and while it's doing that, I can literally start setting up the next image. I don't have to worry about that image. It's already there. You can see the prompt at the top. Chicken cyborgs angry by HR Geiger. We're going to remove that image, remove those prompts, and choose something completely different. So I might use one of my art manifesto images that I need to upscale. Here we go. So I'll choose one of these. There should be an image that's, oh, here's one that's partially formed that I can riff with. So I've got a partially formed image. It didn't quite complete. I stopped it before it had finished rendering on Midjourney, and I'm just going to label it burlesque, and I'll go down to my styles. I'm going to choose Alphonse Mucha. I'm going to choose Art Germ because I quite like that as a modern style, and ArtStation for the same reason. I'm not going to choose Gustav Klimt. He distorted faces. Here we go. There's our final chicken. We're not going to worry about the chicken. I've had enough of the chicken. Alphonse Mucha, Art Germ, ArtStation without image prompt. Set at 0.5. And what other settings can we add? Let's change the emotions to melancholic and make it a colourful palette. Okay, alright, and we're just going to create one image, but it's nice, it'll be nice and big. I just want to show you how it can fix the incorrect faces and eyes. So we'll do one without it. I'll do one without that fix incorrect faces and eyes, and then I'll show you one more with it, just so you can see what it does. And then I'll probably put a pin in this live stream. But here we go. Generating images, 6 minutes. It's 4 minutes, sorry. 39 seconds. That's more realistic. Because it's only using 50% of the image prompt, and it's using 50% of the image itself. So 50% of the image itself and 50% of the text prompt, should I say, and these image modifiers: Alphonse Mucha, ArtGerm, ArtStation, Melancholic, and Colourful. Now, the big controversy with using these artists is that the artists are worried about their copyright being breached, but really the algorithm doesn't do that. It's not using images as references for your image. What it's doing is it's interpreted the style of the artist, the different colors that they uses, the different strokes that it uses, and it basically builds a data set based on that, and then it has another piece of software that critiques that artwork, so often not very well. So it'll generate the first image, and then it'll say, is it this style? So you can see it's gone horribly wrong with the arm and the legs of this one. But yeah, it's doing two things. So in this case, it will communicate with it and say, hey, we're going to create something of that style, of these styles. And then it's got another algorithm that's looking at it and going, well, hey, that doesn't look like that style, or those aren't colourful colours, or anything like that. So ideally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the prompt strength down. Oh, sorry, that's what I was going to do. I was going to show you, forget about the arms and legs. This is a common problem with Stable Diffusion. It has difficulty with limbs. Just look at the face and what happens if I change this to fix incorrect faces and eyes. So we're going to stick to 0.5 prompt strength, and we're going to do another generation just so you can see what this GFP GAN does. So the whole purpose of GFP GAN for fix incorrect faces and eyes is it's got another critique. Again, it's the same thing. It's generating using that, but then it's got a judge. And I guess the judge is the GFP GAN, and it's saying, hey, I don't think that looks like a real eye. I'm sorry, that mouth looks weird. I think that the mouth should look like this. And they kind of communicate with each other. I think there's like 3 different algorithms that work at once. There's one that's called code, and the code algorithm deals with the text itself. That code algorithm that seeds to a data set that goes through what a burlesque looks like, or what a dog looks like, or what a woman looks like, or what a man looks like. It is really good. It's been set up in the past to recognize what those objects are, and that used to be the biggest problem with AI, is that it had trouble recognizing different objects. So this is something that's been in development for at least 20 years. Okay, so you can see how it's changed the eyes. It's improved the eyes. Let's just zoom in here. So it hasn't changed the arms and legs. They're still wonky, but it's done a really good job of fixing the eyes up. Now with the arms and legs, the problem is that my initial image isn't really that defined. So if I just choose a different image, let's go and choose something that's a little bit more refined, if it's the right size. So I'm just looking for files that are 512 by 768, so they're not too big. It's too big. Also too big. Still too big. Yeah, we'll use her. Which version? Yeah, this version. That's a small one. So we'll use her. Her hands, they look okay on the thumbnails, but hard to see. But it will be fixing her eyes and face and upscaling her at the same time at 0.5 using these modifiers. And then I'm probably going to put a pin in it for this live stream, because we're almost at an hour. And the other thing I forgot to set is random image. I'll set it, maybe I'll do another one, since this is probably going to take 40 seconds. So here we go, 29%, 30%. Final generation, or second to last, do one more with random image selected. So at 0.5 again, it's using 50% of the image and 50% of the text prompt and these image modifiers. Here it comes. And I'm listening for the hard drive to start whizzing. Here we go. So you can see what it's done with its hands. It does this weird lobster people thing with the hands. It's really disturbing. And because of the way in which her face is, it's not really fixing her face very well. We could choose another file. I did generate quite a few of these. What have we got? We've got image prompts. Just got to make sure that the file is small enough. It's 512. 512. Well, let's see if it fails with this image. Oh, that's the right size. Perfect. Okay, we're going to use this image and use these image prompts. It's set to random image, but I'm going to reduce the prompt strength to about 0.3. Oh, 0.2 is good. So 0.2. So really I just want to upscale this and make sure it looks good, but I don't want it to start to lobster hand her or do anything weird like that. So let's hit make image, and I'm going to make this the final Stable Diffusion generation of the day, since I have work to do. I've just got an email from my employer, so yeah, I've got some work to do. Okay, here we are, last one before I get back into the edit mish for the paid work. And here it comes, 2 seconds. We got fix and correct faces set, upscale set. Boom. Oh, that's weird. So you can see where it's gone wrong. It's like taking her pants off, melted her arm, and she's cross-eyed, of all things. That's super weird. Let's see if it'll make. I'm going to do one more gen because I wasn't really happy with that. I'm just going to, if it's going to be bad, I want it to be really bad. So let's put it at 0.8. I'm going to go change the prompt to woman and peonies, which is the flowers, and make that image at 0.8. So 0.8 is going to take a little while, especially because it's upscaling it and fixing the eyes at the same time. Hopefully it's not making them cross-eyed. And that will be it. That will be all I'm going to really go into for now. But while this is decoding, I just want to say again, if you want to have a play with Stable Diffusion, go and check out the GitHub link that I have posted into the description for this video. And it's only running Windows or Linux, So it's a zip file, so you have to download the zip file, which I think is about 2 gigabytes or something like that, and then extract it into your root folder somewhere, into your C drive or into documents somewhere, and then run the command prompt. But it'll have all the instructions for how to install it on the actual website. Hopefully, if I bring that up, is it bringing up the website? Yes, it is. So the installation instructions are there on the website, underneath system requirements and the new features. So when you first open it up, you'll go to this page in GitHub, then just scroll down from that and download the Windows zip file here, download for Windows, then keep on scrolling. It will show you pretty much, it's going to go through the same sort of things I've been going through in this video, how to change these settings, how to use text prompts and image prompts. It also goes through the minimum system requirements, so 4 gigabytes or more of VRAM, so most laptops are going to struggle, and then your installation instructions, which refers to unzipping into your C drive or D drive, but in a top root level of those drives. Okay, so it's finished our image. So there you go. So look how wrong it's gone. See, her legs are completely gone. And it turned into a morphic mass of flesh. Her shoulder, something very wrong's happening with her shoulder. Everything's just kind of odd. The only thing that's really looking okay is the face. So you can see there's the limitations in what this software can do. As wonderful as it is for brainstorming, it really pays to have a solid photograph to work from, to leapfrog from to begin with, or just start in increments of prompts. So start with 0.1 of a prompt and get what you like, and then use that as an input, and then keep on moving up, and then you can always go backwards if it starts to deform anything. I do get the impression that the AI thinks that we're all lobster people, or maybe it really is completely revolted by the idea of human flesh, because this is quite disturbing. But yeah, so you can see the limitations for Stable Diffusion, what you can and what you can't do. Go to the description, download it, have a play. Feel free to post any ideas for prompts, so next time we jump on, maybe we can do a bit of a brainstorm session for an image. And yeah, let us know what you think about this whole AI revolution. I think that the whole AI is not art thing, that might never go away. Like, people might be saying that forever, and I don't think it's relevant. I think that discussion will probably go away pretty quickly, because as soon as people start to integrate it into their workflow to the point that people don't know that it's AI art anymore, they're not going to care. At this point, because it's pretty obvious, if you look at a picture like that, you can see it's destroyed her anatomically. It's taken those artist styles, but it's not a good image. I can't sell that image. I can't do anything with that image. If I was to show that to a client, the client would be extremely disappointed, unless that client only wanted the face. So yeah, so I hope that's a good starting point, like a leaping board for you for Stable Diffusion. Have some fun, and let's see what the future holds. It's only going to get better from now. They're going to fix all these problems, but for now it's still got a few problems. So it requires a little bit more control, a little bit more thought, and a little bit more making things in Photoshop first, sort of collage it in Photoshop, then bring it in and use that as an image prompt along with your text prompts. Hope that all makes sense. And I'm out of here. Okay. See you later.
You're halfway The winter has settled in me, so I'll